I'm 92 years old, and for the first time in my life, I'm not afraid to tell the truth. Not because I'm brave, but because I'm running out of time to pretend. I've watched people my age spend their final years silent, carrying things they never said, lessons they never shared, warnings they kept to themselves because they thought nobody would listen. I'm not going to do that. So if you'll give me a few minutes, I want to tell you something. Something I wish someone had grabbed me by the shoulders and said when I was your age. My name is Arthur. I was a husband, a father, an engineer for 38 years, a man who worked hard, planned carefully, and believed, truly believed, that if I did everything right, life would reward me with peace. I was wrong. Not about working hard. Hard work is real. It matters. I was wrong about something else entirely, something quieter, something that took me until my late 70s to even name. And by the time I understood it, so many years had already passed. I remember sitting in my office the night I got promoted. Corner office, big title. My hands were on the desk, and I kept waiting for the feeling to arrive. The feeling I'd worked 20 years for. It never came. And I didn't understand why. But I do now. The next morning I drove to work the same way I always did. Same road, same coffee, same radio station playing songs I never really listened to. And nobody at the office knew that the night before, the man they were about to congratulate had sat alone in a quiet room, feeling nothing. I smiled when they clapped. I shook hands. I said the right things. And then I went back to work. Because that's what I knew how to do. My wife Margaret made my favorite dinner that evening. Pot roast, fresh bread. She'd even lit candles. Our two boys were still young then. Daniel was 9, Peter was 6. They'd made me a card with crayon drawings of a man in a tall building. I remember thinking, I'll enjoy this later. Right now, I have a project to finish. I went to my study after dinner. I told myself it would only be an hour. It was 3. When I came out, the candles had melted down. The boys were asleep. Margaret was reading in bed with that look on her face. Not angry, something worse than angry. Tired. Tired in a way that had nothing to do with the hour. I told myself she understood, that she knew I was building something, that sacrifice now meant comfort later. That's what I told myself. But here's what I didn't know yet. Later has a way of never arriving. The years don't disappear all at once. That's the thing nobody warned you about. They go quietly. One skipped dinner at a time. One missed school play. One, not tonight, I'm exhausted after another. Until one day you look up and your boys don't crawl into your lap anymore. They've stopped asking you to come outside. They've learned, without anyone telling them, that Dad is busy. Children are smart that way. They stop asking when the answer is always the same. Daniel was 13 when I missed his first big football match. I had a deadline, an important one. I told myself he'd have dozens more matches, that I'd be there for the ones that mattered. I was there for 2. In 5 years of football, I was there for 2. I know that number because Daniel told me, not as a boy, as a grown man, 34 years old, sitting across from me at a kitchen table, calm and quiet, not shouting. That would have been easier. He just said, Dad, you came twice. In 5 years, I counted. And then he looked at his coffee cup. I didn't know what to say, because there was nothing to say. No explanation fills a seat that stayed empty. No promotion erases a boy scanning the crowd and not finding his father's face. That moment cost me more than any failure in my career ever did. And I'd trade every promotion to sit in those stands again. I told myself I was doing it for them. That's the lie I lived inside for 30 years. I was working for the family, building security, creating a future. Every late night, every missed dinner, every holiday cut short by a phone call from the office, it was all for them. But here's the truth I could not face back then. I loved my work because it made me feel significant. The deadlines, the promotions, the handshakes, the respect of other serious men in serious suits. That world told me every single day that I mattered, that I was winning. Home was quieter. Home didn't give out promotions. Nobody handed you an award for showing up to dinner. Nobody measured how present you were as a father. So I went where the score was visible, and I called it sacrifice. Margaret never complained loudly. That was her way. But I remember one evening, the boys were teenagers by then, she said something I brushed off in the moment. She said, "Arthur, I feel like I'm raising them alone." I told her she was exaggerating. I genuinely believed that. Because I was home, wasn't I? I came back every night. I paid every bill. I never left. But there is a way of being present in a house while being completely absent from a family. I had mastered it without even trying. And the people who loved me most felt it every day, even when I couldn't see it at all. Margaret got sick when she was 71. It came quickly, the way these things sometimes do. And suddenly the man who had never had enough time had nothing but time. I sat beside her hospital bed for weeks, held her hand, watched her sleep, talked to her about everything and nothing, old memories, places we'd always planned to visit, things we said we'd do when the boys were grown and life slowed down. We had a list, Margaret and I, a real list, written on a folded piece of paper she kept in her bedside drawer. Portugal, the Amalfi Coast, a slow train through Scotland, a month with no schedule and nowhere to be. We never did a single one. There was always a reason. Always something that needed handling first. Always a next year that felt more convenient than this one. I read that list to her in the hospital room, every item. My voice broke on the third one. She squeezed my hand and said, "We had a good life, Arthur." She meant it. That was the kind of woman she was. But I saw something in her eyes that she was too gentle to say out loud. We could have had more. Not more money, not a bigger house. More mornings with nowhere to rush to. More evenings that belonged only to us. More ordinary days treated like they were worth something. She passed on a Tuesday, and the silence she left behind finally made me hear everything I had refused to listen to for decades. I'm 92 now. I sit by the window most mornings, watch the light change, drink my coffee slowly, something I never once did when I was young and important and busy. It took me losing almost everything to learn how to be still. Daniel visits every Sunday. We talk more now than we did in his entire childhood. There's a gentleness between us that took years of honesty to build. It's not perfect, but it's real, and I am grateful for every minute of it. Peter lives far away. We speak on the phone. It's enough. It has to be. I don't tell you any of this so you feel sorry for me. I tell you because you still have time. That is the one thing I didn't think I was spending. Time. It felt infinite when I was 30, 40, even 50. There was always more of it somewhere ahead. There isn't. There is only today, this evening, this dinner, this conversation your child is trying to have with you right now while you look at your phone. The work will still be there tomorrow, but people have expiry dates we never see coming. So please, put the list down. Miss the deadline occasionally. Sit at the table until everyone is finished. Watch your children's faces when they're telling you something they think is important, because it is important. It was always important. I just understood it too late. Don't let that be your story too. If this reached something inside you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And ask yourself tonight, what have I been postponing that actually matters?